Hey guys, welcome back and thank you for checking out our channel again. We love you guys and really appreciate the support. Another posted question, is it valuable doing phase studies after land purchases? How do I find people who do phase 1 and 2 studies? Great question. What is the typical cost for getting something like this done? And is it pointless to do so after buying the land? Yes, it's pointless to do it after you buy the land because you own it. If you find something wrong, you can't go back to the seller and say, hey, I want to retrade. Doesn't work that way. So I will go into a general framework what the phase 1 and 2 is. Phase 1 and 2 is a type of report that is done during your due diligence period or feasibility. It's also called ESA 1 or ESA 2, and most people know this as environmental assessment survey. Phase 1 is typically, regardless if you have an office building, multifamily, or land, it's very prudent to do environmental studies. Phase 1 is not invasive. So what that means is you're going to have a third-party vendor go out, and most of it is going to be record reviews with the city fire department and doing a lot of the research on what was there before and what may have impacted. So as an example, phase 1 takes about 4 to 6 weeks from a vendor. And I'll give you some of the vendors later, so you can take a look at it. These are national vendors. But phase 1 will look at county assessor's office, the records with the fire department, or historical information with the county assessors to see what type of business was there, or if it was land, what it was used for. As an example, if the land was there for a petroleum holding site, or even though they have a gas station, let's say Shell, BP, or Chevron had containers back then in the 50s and 60s, most likely you're going to have some soil contamination, or if there was a spill, you're going to have a groundwater contamination. So that records will show. That means if that record shows that it was never remediated, there may have been a potential spill, then they're going to call out in phase 1 report to do the phase 2 survey. And the phase 2 survey is a little bit more lengthy and costly because it is an invasive report. So what they will do is, with the seller's consent, the prospect buyer will engage a consultant or engineering firm to come out, take soil survey, and most likely they'll bore in certain areas to see the water contamination levels, and they'll take that into labs and do research and give you reports. Sometimes if there's severe spills, you're going to have methane vapors, which will impede your potential use for that project. As an example, if you have groundwater contamination and you have a methane vapor issue, you're not going to be able to build it for multifamily, hospitals, schools, daycare, things like that. You may be able to use it for industrial or even hospitality or some other use, but it's going to really impact what you can do with that piece of dirt. And usually if it's an issue, there should be a special warranty deed that's recorded, kind of letting you know. But if it wasn't, to no one's fault, you should do the survey. And going back to how much it costs, a typical phase 1 survey takes 4 to 6 or even 8 weeks, costs you about $2,500 to about $4,000, depending on how large it is and how remote it is. Phase 2, it all varies, but typical phase 2 is going to cost you from $15,000 to $30,000. So that's why it's a big commitment. So then you have to really weigh out the risk. A lot of people, I'm going to say not institutional guys, but someone doing it for the first time, if they found out it was high elevated issue in the phase 1, they'll break escrow and say, hey guys, we're going to walk away from the deal and put it into escrow, and they'll escrow refund the money and you walk away. And the cost you spend, $3,000 or so for the phase 1 or other surveys, is some cost. You have to eat that cost. That's cost of doing business. So your question is it valuable to do it after? No, because you own the land. If you found out the issue, you can't do anything about it except to do the 2 things. To mitigate that, which could be, $500,000 million, depending on what type of remediation process you have to take. And secondly is, your lender might not even give you financing to do what you want to do because there's higher risk. And they might ask you to purchase environmental insurance, which is significantly higher than any type of property liability umbrella insurance you're going to get. So it makes it very challenging after the fact. Once you know, remediation costs going to be millions of dollars, what are you going to do with the land? So you got to sit on that. We can lose money. So it's very prudent at all times to conduct your third-party reports. And I think I mentioned that before in a couple of my videos. Most of the third-party reports consist of title review, Alta survey, which is meets and bounds and see what you own, which will tell you about encroachment, easements with the public utilities and things like that. And phase 1 is your environmental survey, and phase 2. And lastly, it's going to be property condition report if there's a building. That's going to to give you the age of the roof, HVAC system, power, construction type, and all those good things that you need to know because you need to implement your plans to utilize that building for profit. Easy answer, yeah, it's pointless to do it after. Always do it before you waive your due diligence process, because when you waive it, you're not getting your refundable deposit back, because at that point when you waive your due diligence, your deposit becomes hard, non-refundable. So then if you walk away from that deal, that deposit goes to the seller as you breaking the contract. So always be prudent, spend the money and think through. And a couple of vendors I recommend, I mean, I'm not sponsored by them. They're really good firms and national firm. Partners Engineering and Science, they're national. So they will do it anywhere in the 50 state, I believe. EBI is another good one, and AI Engineering is another good firm. So reputable firms. Are there going to be regional or smaller companies? Sure, there's a lot of them out there, but those three are going to be more of a national presence. So they will be able to help you in your own sub-market. If you found this content helpful, please like, subscribe, and follow us. And please leave comments so we could address your comments. Thank you.